A wage cuck is slang for someone who feels trapped in a job they hate. The word mixes wage, which is money earned from work, and cuck, a rude term for someone weak or humiliated. It describes a person who spends their life working meaningless hours, feeling owned by their job, yet unable to escape. Today we'll explore the philosophy behind this idea, using thinkers like Marx, Nietzsche and Camus, and of course psychology to explain why people become wage cucks. Marx said capitalism turns workers into machines. In his book, Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts, he wrote, "The worker becomes poorer the more wealth he produces. Workers feel alienated because they don't own what they make, nor do they control their work or feel connected to it. A wage cuck might build cars all day but never afford one. Their labor is not for passion or creativity. It's just survival." Marx called this selling your time and body, losing your human essence. The wage cuck's life becomes a cycle: work, sleep, repeat, with no real freedom. Nietzsche talked about resentment, which is bitterness towards those with power. Wage cucks might hate their bosses or envy the rich, but feel too weak to change their lives. Nietzsche's slave morality explains how society praises suffering as virtuous. For example, slogans like "hard work is its own reward" keep wage cucks obedient. They are told to be grateful for their misery, turning their anger inward. Nietzsche warned, "He who cannot command himself must obey." The wage cuck obeys, trapped by fear of risk, yet secretly resents the system. Camus said, "Life has no built-in meaning. It is absurd." The wage cuck's job is like Sisyphus, the Greek myth of a man pushing a boulder uphill forever. Camus wrote, "The workman of today works every day in his life at the same tasks, and this faith is no less absurd." But Camus also said, "We must rebel by finding joy in the struggle." The wage cuck might numb themselves with TV or shopping, avoiding the question, "Why do I do this?" Without rebellion, their life feels empty, a robot in a suit. If we take philosophers like Herbert Marcuse, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he argued capitalism tricks us into wanting things we don't need. In One Dimensional Man, he wrote, "People recognize themselves in their commodities. Wage cucks work overtime to buy gadgets, cars, or vacations, thinking it's freedom. But it's a trap. They are stuck in jobs they hate to pay for stuff that doesn't make them happy. Society calls this success, but it's actually a cage. The wage cuck's life becomes a hamster wheel. Work, consume, repeat." Modern psychology helps explain why wage cucks stay trapped. Thinkers like Christina Maslach, who study burnout, says endless work drains people emotionally, making them feel empty, exhausted, and, of course, useless. Wage cucks often push through burnout because society glorifies hustle culture, the idea that your value comes from grinding non-stop. Social media shouts "rise and grind" or "sleep when you're dead." This turns suffering into a badge of honor. Byung-Chul Han, a modern philosopher, calls this self-exploitation. In his book The Burnout Society, he writes the achievement subject is free to exploit itself and does so willingly. Wage cucks don't need bosses to yell at them. They guilt-trip themselves for not working harder. They chase promotions or side gigs, thinking "I'll be happy when," but that day never comes. Psychologists also talk about internalized capitalism, believing your worth depends on productivity. A wage cuck might feel ashamed to rest, as if laziness is a sin. Even hobbies become side hustles, ruined by the need to monetize them. This creates a prison of the mind. Work isn't just a job, it's your identity. Meanwhile, Erich Fromm warned in Escape from Freedom that people fear true freedom. It's easier to obey a boss than face the uncertainty of quitting. Wage cucks cling to their routines, even if they are miserable, because the unknown is scarier. As Fromm wrote, people are afraid to take the risk of freedom. They prefer the safety of dependency. The Wagecucks' mind becomes a battlefield, guilt versus exhaustion, hope versus fear. Until they break the cycle, they will keep running on a treadmill, going nowhere, faster and faster.